Hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this work session meeting of the Mayor and Council to order. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer and or reflection as we think about the conflict in the Middle East and the United States military service personnel, home and abroad. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please note the fire exits, my left, your right to the main hallway, and out the back door into the main parking lot. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Milford have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices have been sent to the record in the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy that will safeguard infrastructure, provide fair, honest, courteous, and professional services, establish a sense of trust and accomplishment between all residents, and to research and prudent planning seek to minimize risk while improving our services. We are sensitive to the needs and satisfaction of our taxpayers, while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people, within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. At this time, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman San Newton. Here. Councilwoman Rocky Hurley. Present. Councilwoman Duffy. Here. Councilman Grotzky.
Here.
Councilman Seymour.
Here.
Council President Grant. Here. Mayor Petrino.
Here. Before we start, just a couple things on our agenda. First thing you'll notice that's different is we have a couple of ordinance reintroductions tonight. The reason for that is after we introduced the ordinance, they were sent to be published by North Jersey Media Group, and somehow they failed to publish them. I think we should get a refund from them, but we did, excellent, and we have to reintroduce them. The other thing is I want to add 2 appointments tonight, so at this time I'm going to ask for a motion to add Cheryl Calderon as alternate number 1 to the zoning board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So you'll be listed. And the second one is, can I get a motion to appoint Grace Urena as the high school representative to the Milford Municipal Alliance Committee?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start off with a proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month. Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas, mental health is essential to the overall health and well-being, and all people experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives and should feel comfortable in seeking help and support to manage these times. And whereas, like physical illness, mental illness is a medical condition that can be treated effectively through prevention, early identification, and early intervention. And with effective treatment, all individuals with mental illness can make progress toward recovery and lead full, productive lives. And whereas mental illness affects 1 in 5 people in the United States, and experiences can be devastating for individuals and families with little knowledge or access to mental health services. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has created a multitude of mental health challenges for our community members of all ages, and connecting people to care is more important than ever. And whereas May is annually recognized throughout the nation as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas local resources are available to treat disease of mental illness so that no resident needs to suffer alone or feel hopeless. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Michael Petrino, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the Borough of New Milford, and to increase public understanding of the importance of mental health and to promote identification and treatment of mental health needs. We're going to move on to appointments. May I get a motion to appoint Joseph Conti to Fire Company Number 1?
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And may I get a motion to appoint Cheryl Calderon to alternate number 1 zoning board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And may I get a motion to appoint Grace Urena as the New Milford High School representative to the New Milford municipal lines?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, we're going to have a public hearing on our 2024 municipal budget. And at this time, I would like to ask our auditor, Mr. Steve Wilcox, to take the podium and walk us through it, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. We introduced the budget 6 or 7 weeks ago. It was advertised. It went to the state. They did their review. They found something that needed to change by, I think it was $1,350. So you have, after the hearing, before you adopt the budget, you have to adopt the resolution to amend for that one change, and then you're free to adopt the budget. A couple of highlights. This has not been a great year anywhere in terms of costs, inflation. It's been tougher this year than it has been in previous years to try to wrestle with getting the budget balanced, getting a tax levy and a tax increase that makes sense, generally speaking. Some examples of the borough's increased cost for 2024, workers' comp and liability insurance is going up almost $500,000. That is directly related to how the joint insurance fund is modifying their billing methodology. It used to be you paid 4 quarters, and the 4th quarter was due in January the following year. They've changed that to billing twice a year, and we had to build an additional quarter into this year's budget. That's just not New Milford, that's everybody that participates in that joint insurance fund. We have statutory increases in the library, Bergen County Utilities Authority for sewage treatment, state pension bills, contractual obligations to all employees, and some additional money we put in capital this year in order to fund some projects. The bottom line is that the municipal tax levy increase to the average homeowner, which is about $330,000 of assessment, is $185 for the year. So that's a little over $15 a month when you break it down. So again, a little bit more than we're used to doing, but again, combination of double-digit increase in some costs. You've done some making young of some of your departments by retirements and bringing in younger people at lower salaries. Part of that issue is that when they hit certain steps on the guide, their increases are, a little bit higher than it might be for some other, seasoned veteran that's just getting a COLA increase. Obviously, they're still making a lot less money than that person retired, but again, it's the annual cost that we need to be concerned with when it comes to the budget. So, all in all, that's where we are. We've gotten approved to adopt after the amendment, and I would be glad to entertain any questions from the governing body.
Thank you.
Well, I was saying, I don't think anyone is thrilled with the budget, but as you said, there are so many costs this year and last year that we just can't control, such as tipping fees. We're hoping eventually that those are going to go down. UCLA fees have gone up, pension, and as you can see, we've cut over $70,000 from all of our committees and departments where we can cut, which that's a last resort. We never want to hurt our boards and committees, but we have to take a little extra this year, just to,
The things you can't control, you continue
Correct.
to control. The issue is that there's so many pieces of the budget that are, you're presented a bill and you have to pay it. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's that simple. Pension, garbage, sewer, it's...
Right. And we're in a situation where we've lost a number of houses to the New Acre program. and we have a number of houses slated to be taken down in the next year, so we'll be losing more. We are hopeful that we do have some residents have entered the house raising program, so hopefully we will be able to save a few houses in certain areas rather than them coming down, which just helps everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As part of the Budget Committee, I just want to thank the department heads that came to the meetings, presented their case, and were willing to help us on the budget and making the reductions that we had to do. It wasn't a very happy moment, but it's what we do to keep the borough going. So thank you to the department heads and their participation.
Absolutely.
And thank you to the Budget Committee. Actually, I know how hard you work and how many hours you put into it. So, appreciation to you.
I would just also echo what Councilwoman Duffy said earlier, which is that I would also thank the department heads for being very conscientious of costs and budgetary impacts and asking our committee for that which they really need, rather than just simply want. I really admire and respect them for being as candid and as honest as they were in our meeting.
We're all in this together.
I'd like to thank Chris for her help. We have real difficult. Thanks, sir. Well, I second that.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I just have to wait for this motion.
Yes.
So at this time, may I get a motion to approve Resolution 2024:113, which is amend the 2024 municipal budget to address comments from state review.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman San Houston.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Graham.
Yes.
I think you should probably do it separate.
Okay. May I get a motion for Resolution 2024:114, which is waive the reading in full of the 2024 municipal budget.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman San Houston.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Graham.
Yes.
Yes. And now may I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on the 2024 municipal budget?
Motion to open in the public. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions about the 2024 municipal budget, now is your opportunity. Seeing that there's no member of the public that wishes to comment on the budget, may I get a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to pass Resolution 2024:115, which is adopt the 2024 municipal budget?
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman San Houston.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Graham.
Yes.
Mr. Wilcox, thank you for all your help this year.
Great.
Good night.
Okay, now we're going to have a public hearing on the Bergen County Trust Fund grant application for Hardcastle Pond Path Improvement Project.
Yes, as a requirement of the application, we need to hold a public hearing. The public hearing is advertised at least 10 days prior to this hearing. And as we discussed, the project is to repair the path, repave the path around Hardcastle Pond and place new benches and trash cans.
May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on Hardcastle Pond?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions regarding the Hardcastle Pond improvement grant, now is your opportunity.
Motion to close to the public. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, you motion to approve it?
No, we're already, yeah, we just need to.
Okay, unfinished business. May I get a motion for the approval of the minutes from the April 15th, 2024 public session meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Theo, you weren't there, right? So we have one abstention. Were you at that meeting? Someone was there.
I think she was for the one before.
Oh, it was the one before it.
I think it was 2 months prior.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Here's our first reintroduction. Reintroduction ordinance 2024:09. When the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask her to please read the ordinance again.
Bond ordinance to authorize the improvement of Boulevard from Monmouth Avenue North, approximately 2,150 feet, in by and for the Borough of New Milford, in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $264,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to appropriate the DOT grant and authorize the issuance of bonds to pay for the balance not covered by the grant. May I get a motion to reintroduce this ordinance on its first reading? Make it a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Sanders.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley. Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Brodsky. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
The public hearing for this will be at our May 29th meeting, which is a Wednesday because of Memorial Day.
Yes.
Okay. The next one up for reintroduction is ordinance 2024:10. When the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask her to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 19 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Parks and Recreation, Section 19-3, Fees.
The purpose of this ordinance is to modify fees for certain recreational programs. Some examples are summer recreation, $180 for single, $270 for double, $360 for family. Tennis keys, $15 per key. Travel spring soccer, from $150 to $350. Travel basketball, $250 to $350. And travel fall softball, $150 to $300. And carded umpires, between $40 and $50 per game for adult kickball. Making a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading.
Motion.
Second.
Make it a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Sanders.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Brodsky. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
The public hearing will also be at our May 29th meeting. Next one for reintroduction is ordinance 2024:11. When the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask you to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Administration, thereby amending subsection 2-20 entitled Fire Department.
The purpose of this ordinance is to amend certain sections of ordinance 2-20 to conform with the duly adopted firematic rules and regulations of the New Milford Fire Department. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Make it a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Sanders.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Brodsky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
May 29th. Okay, moving on to adoptions. Ordinance 2024:12, and when the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask you to please read the ordinance.
Yes. Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new, additional, or replacement equipment and machinery and new communication and signal systems equipment in, by, and for the Borough of New Milford and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $445,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the appropriation and issuance of a bond to finance the 2024 road program, acquisition of police and fire department equipment. May I get a motion to adopt this? No, may I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions regarding this ordinance, now is your opportunity. Seeing that no member of the public wishes to comment on this ordinance, I would ask for a motion to close to the public.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Making a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading.
Second.
Make it a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Sanhuzen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grodzki. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Ordinance adoption 2024:13, and when the clerk has the opportunity, I'd ask you to please read the ordinance.
Capital Ordinance of the Borough of New Milford and County of Bergen, New Jersey, authorizing the making of various public acquisitions and improvements in, by, and for the borough, appropriating therefore the sum of $162,064, and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the borough.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to appropriate funds from the Borough of New Milford's Capital Improvement Fund for various acquisitions and improvements to the Public Library, Fire Department, Department of Public Works, Police Department, and Office of Emergency Management. May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions regarding this ordinance, now is the opportunity. Seeing that there is no member of the public that wishes to comment on this ordinance, may I get a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading?
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Sanhuzen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grodzki. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Okay. We're on 14. Adopt ordinance 2024:14. And when the clerk has the opportunity, I would ask you to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 8 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Parking and Parking Lots, thereby amending subsection 8-3 entitled Handicap Parking on Public Streets.
The purpose of this ordinance is to amend section 8-3.2 of the ordinance to add a designated location for handicap parking on Fowler Drive. May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions regarding this ordinance, now is your opportunity. Seeing that no member of the public wishes to comment on this ordinance, may I get a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
to close. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading?
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Sanhuzen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley. Councilwoman Duffy.
Yes.
Councilman Grodzki.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Moving on to new business. Introduction of ordinances. 2024:15. And when the clerk gets the opportunity, I ask you to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 30 entitled Land Use of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford, thereby amending Article 5 entitled Historical Preservation.
Okay. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend the ordinance to add a list of designated historic properties of interest outlined in historic designation criteria, prohibitions, and historic preservation committee guidelines. Yes. At this time, could we get our chairperson of the Historic Preservation Commission to come up and tell us a little about it?
First of all, thank you. I'm just thrilled that we've been working on this ordinance for quite a while, so I'm just thrilled that it's finally coming before you to consider. The purpose of this ordinance, there are two properties in the borough that we would like to add to our list of local historic sites. The Art Center of Northern New Jersey, which was the original home of St. Matthew's Church. That was the first church in Pittsburgh, which, I'm sure you all know about New Milford history. Pittsburgh was kind of like the hamlet that really is the birthplace of modern-day New Milford. We also want to list the Demarest Grant House on Boulevard, and this is a very unique structure. It was an auxiliary building that was part of property owned by John Demarest, and the Demarest family, they were very much the founders of Bergen County. So we wanted to have those added to our preservation ordinance. We also added, wanted to identify areas of historic interest. These are not historic districts, which is a whole other process where you have to go through a rather extensive process of getting approvals and everything. This is just to kind of point out to residents the history of the borough, that New Milford, when it was incorporated, it was a consolidation of a number of different hamlets, communities along the Hackensack River, including Petersburg, River Edge Manor, Old Bridge, New Bridge. So we just wanted to have that on the ordinance. And that information then would also be included into the master plan. We just think it's part of the Commission's mission to educate the community about our history. We also think by having these properties on the ordinance, it does offer some measure of protection. There have been changes in recent years to the building code where you don't necessarily need to get permits to do certain work on your house, like you don't for siding or windows or putting on a new roof. And those are all elements that contribute to the historic character of the house. Typically, the commission gets involved when a permit is pulled, and then we would review it. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't, that we don't, because we're not notified, we can't weigh in on. We've looked at, is there a way to trigger a review for historic properties only? But it's, our previous borough attorney who worked with us on this didn't think we could be singling out a particular group of homeowners. But where the ordinance really does work is the fact that if somebody pulls a demolition permit on an historic property, then we can get involved. And it does, and we've actually been successful in recent years saving 2 properties. One was the Eli Lyons house that you see at the corner. The other one, Paulson O'Malley. They've made some interesting siding choices there, but the house is there. We try to take a holistic approach to historic preservation. Try to save as much as we can, work with the homeowners, that, we are an ally. We're not trying to make their life more difficult. And so by considering this ordinance, you're really helping us do our job. So I just wanted to thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
I want to thank you so much, Nancy, for doing, you and the commission for doing all this work. I know it's been a while, a long time undertaking, and I personally witnessed you and members of the commission inspect the art center and also my house.
Sure.
And I was impressed with the depth of knowledge that you have and that other members of the commission have. So I'm very impressed with everybody. Unfortunately, I have to abstain from the vote since my house is one of the historic homes being added to the list. But thank you so much, and thank you to the commission for your hard work.
Thank you for your kind words. It's important for people to understand this is not arbitrary. When you, just because something's old, you just can't put it, that there's a process behind it. There's research that goes into it. It is a, carefully thought out process. So.
And I learned things about my house that I didn't know, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No, I think it's great. The more we can educate homeowners and work with them, the more likely they are to save something.
Right.
We've lost far too many properties in this
Right.
town over the years.
Yeah, no, we agree. But like I said, the more, I think, if we're not seen as a burden, if we're a resource, that's really what we're trying to do. And like I said, we take a more holistic approach to preservation. I know the focus is often on the exterior of properties, and we certainly encourage homeowners to use, the original materials and everything. Often some of the most interesting historic elements are inside the houses, the fireplaces, the floorboards, and actually that's not something that's covered by the ordinance. Somebody could gut the inside of the house. But if we can keep those houses standing, you preserve the possibility that somebody's going to be able to restore it. It even like the Eli Lyons house, when that house was being restored, people only had a certain budget that they could work with. And if we demanded that they had to do all this original, they couldn't have purchased the house, they couldn't have kept it going. A lot of the original details were underneath that siding, so it's been saved. So at some point, if somebody wants to take off the replacement siding, they have the original siding they could work with. So, I mean, that's maybe a little unorthodox, but that's kind of been our approach, that to try to save as much as we can and educate people about why it's necessary to do it.
Excuse me, Nancy, can you just say where the O'Malley on the boulevard is and the...
The Paulson O'Malley House is on River Road, so it's, as you are going north, it's about a block or two north of the post office. I can't recall the cross street right off.
So is that by the block that you would turn down for Canterbury? Canterbury. It's
No, it's still a little farther north. I'm blanking on the cross street. It's closer to, like past the post office, past the church and everything. If you look at it, it's
From the east side.
yeah, it's been set back, but again.
That's so much clearer to me. You're so good in directions.
Yeah, but I'm being put on the spot. I'm not good at directions. So, but it is. But anyway, so, you're welcome.
And we're looking forward to the whole thing.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Someday we'll give it 4.
Yeah. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
I'd like to be loud and proud.
Second. Make it a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Sanderson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Without any moment to waste, yes.
Councilwoman Duffy. Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
I abstain.
Public hearing on this ordinance will be at our May 29th meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. New business. Introduction of 2024.15. And the clerk has the opportunity to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 10 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Building and Housing, thereby amending subsection 10-1.3 entitled Fees.
There we go. That'll do it. Okay. Purpose of this ordinance is to add and amend certain building and housing permit fees. May I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
Second.
Make it a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Sanderson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Saraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Do you have a little more specific?
I do, let's see. Okay.
Like fees, general fees?
General fees such as certificate for resale, $100.
There were nothing in there to address solar. These are things that they had to add, and there were some modifications to certain things that were increased slightly.
Photovoltaic system. Panels up to 51 to 100 kilowatts, $150. Write that one down.
You named it so well.
And there was one with pool inspection, $65. That was a change. Chimney liner, $65.
It's good to know.
And hot water boiler went from 100 to 125. Steam boiler, 100 to 125. And hot air furnace went from 100 to 125.
Thank you. Yes. It's one of those.
Do we need to-
They started, yes. Councilman Grotzky. Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Photovoltaic kilowatts.
Have it on the order.
Public hearing on this ordinance will be our May 29th meeting. Okay, we are done with ordinances. We'll move on to schedule of events. Okay. On Monday, May 27th, is New Milford's annual Memorial Day Parade. It is sponsored by the New Milford Public Events Committee. The time will be 9 a.m., and it'll be from the Knights Field parking lot to the Borough Hall. For more information, you can find it on the Borough website or through social media. On Saturday, June 16th, is the New Milford Senior Class Car Wash, sponsored by Project Graduation. It'll be from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Knights Field parking lot. For more information, it's all over social media. A little bit out of order, but Friday on June 7th is the New Milford Hall of Fame dinner and induction ceremony, sponsored by the New Milford Historic Preservation Commission. It'll be from 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. at the New Milford Athletic Club, which is on the west side of the road. And for more information, it's on the borough website and the Preservation Commission's Facebook page. Tickets were on sale for $40. I don't know, is there still some left, or are we? Tickets are available, so get them while you can. On Saturday, June 15th, is Mental Health Awareness, sponsored by the New Milford Municipal Alliance. It'll be from 9:30 to 12 p.m. at the Knightsfield Pavilion. It'll be on the New Milford Borough website as well as Facebook. And also on Saturday the 15th is Dance, Sing, and Drum at the Pavilion, sponsored by the New Milford Arts Committee. The time is from 2 to 4:30 p.m. at the Knightsfield Pavilion. It's going to be a busy day at the Pavilion. And it'll also be on our website and social media.
Mayor, may I ask, when is that car wash again?
The senior class car wash is on the 16th, project graduation from 10 to 2.
Thank you.
And on late edition, on June 18th, is the New Milford Classic Car Show, which is sponsored by the New Milford Swim Club. It'll be from 1 to 7 p.m. at the New Milford Swim Club parking lot. And it's on their Facebook page and social media. Classic cars are cool. Is there any events that I missed that anyone is aware of? Okay, at this time we'll move on to the administrative report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure many people have noticed the traffic signal at the graphic end the boulevard has been installed. The controller should be in within 2 to 3 weeks, and then it's just a matter of public service connecting the power. We're expecting the traffic light will be functional within 2 months.
2 months?
2 months.
The NJDOT Municipal Aid Grant Program for fiscal year 25 has been announced with applications due by July 1st, and we are currently reviewing possible resurfacing projects for this grant. We're looking at some of the streets surrounding the middle school. Actually, something the mayor mentioned earlier, FEMA actually has awarded the 2022 Private Residential Structures Elevation Grant for 15 residential flood-prone properties in New Milford. It will be administered through the New Jersey OEM. The grant period runs from March 2024 through March 2027, and New Milford will be executing a sub-grant agreement with New Jersey OEM to start the process. And following that, there'll be a kickoff meeting, and we're in the process of preparing a request for proposal for a grant administration, somebody to help us with the grant administration, because that's also covered by the grant. The primary election will be held on Tuesday, June 4th, and polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. In addition, early voting will be available from May 29th through June 2nd. Polls will be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Saturday, and from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday at 9 locations throughout Bergen County. Any declared registered voter can go to any of the 9 locations to vote through the exact same process they would on Election Day. The deadline to register to vote in the primary election is tomorrow, May 14th. Also of note, the polling location for Districts 8 and 9, which have been at the library, are moving to Berkeley Street School, the gymnasium multi-purpose room, and that's beginning with this June primary. The meeting room at the library is too small to properly accommodate new voting machines. This information will also be printed on the sample ballots that will be mailed in advance of the election. And then the only other thing is that our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 29th.
Any questions for the administrator? Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at the resolutions? Are there any that need to be pulled for further discussion and/or vote? Okay. So let's go around and do some, let's get a motion to file council committee reports with the borough clerk to be spread in full upon the minutes.
This is our work session.
So we don't have to do that.
Sorry.
Okay.
I got confused.
Let's go around quick. Do you have any highlights or updates from the committees since we're here?
You've already reminded everyone of the dinner on June 7th. I believe the tickets are 40.
$40.
A person. We still have some left, so please call up, let us know, just come enjoy the evening, and, of course, our parade. We'd love to see everyone there.
Hope we have good weather.
Just put that St. Joseph in the window. Everybody.
Councilwoman Sandy.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Mayor's Wellness Campaign is busy preparing for a Saturday, September 7th health fair. So there's some of our partner participants are going to be Champion Martial Arts, Dance Dimensions, ShopRite will be hosting some nutritionist education, the YMCA, the Senior Center, and the library. So there will be events all throughout the month. But there will be a kickoff health fair on Saturday, September 7th. The time is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So all committee is going to be at the YMCA, outdoors, indoors if it's raining, so it's a rain or shine. And all the council members are invited to have their committees participate. So it's a in-process program coming together. So there's going to be lots of exciting events happening all throughout September, including walks with the mayor. So, yeah. So that's the Mayor's Wellness Campaign. And Sustainable Jersey, the green team has been busy with certification. So round 2 for certification has completed on May 10th. So we have submitted for our bronze. So we've achieved all of our points, plus some for bronze. We're waiting for the review from Sustainable Jersey, and then the third round in July, the green team is going for silver.
Excellent.
Yeah, so the borough's been very busy, and the green team gets to highlight all of that good work. And that's my report for today.
Thank you. Councilwoman Duffy?
I'm going to forego my report until our public session after my parade. The Board of Health did meet this week, and we also received a report about the events that the Mayor's Wellness Committee is planning. It sounds amazing, so, but I'm going to hold off since we have a presentation.
Excellent. Councilman Grassi?
Thank you, Mayor. A week or two ago, there was an article stating that New Milford is the fourth safest municipality in the state of New Jersey. Kudos to our municipal people and our police department, and it's a great time to live in.
Absolutely.
That's what I have at the moment.
I concur.
And kudos to our residents.
Yes. Once again, it's a team effort. It's working together. Councilman Seymour?
Thank you, Mayor. I also would just like to echo what Councilman Grosky said and thank our first responders, especially police and fire, for keeping New Milford as safe as it is for our families and our communities. And I also just wanted to give great compliments once again to our Recreation Advisory Committee. They did a fantastic job this year and a very successful spring sports season. And I'm already looking forward, as many residents are, to the summer rec program, which is coming up very quickly. And I just wanted to point out that it was a lot of fun to have an opportunity to go to the high school to watch Beauty and the Beast. The students did an absolutely fantastic job with the show. So kudos to the students and their families.
Nice. Councilwoman Grant?
Thank you, Mayor. The New Milford Arts Committee will be presenting its first event on June 15th, as the Mayor mentioned. It's going to be, I forget what we call it, it's singing, drumming, dancing event, and it's going to be at the pavilion. It should be great fun. And also, last week we had the antiques appraisal at the library. The Friends of the Library raised some money for the library, and it was a fun event, as it always is, and some interesting items there, and people had a wonderful time, and hopefully we'll do it again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to give a shout out to the DPW. Earlier in the month, last month when we had some flooding, kind of destroyed the paths we had at the Milford Woods and the new trails down to the dead end of Henley. DPW has restored all of that with the wood chips and the barriers on the side. So if anyone has not had the opportunity, go down and take a walk in the woods. It's amazing the amount of birds and animals and wildlife that you will see. It's so cool. I did it yesterday. It was great. Yep, everything looks great. Okay. At this time, I would ask for a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions or comments regarding the good and welfare of the borough, give us your name, and we'll give you 5 minutes. Seeing that there is no member of the public that wishes to comment, I'd ask for a motion to close the public.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt resolution 2024:116 and 2024-127?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this time, we are going to have a presentation from Crossroads Development. This is going to have to do with the old ShopRite property in the Milford on River Road. And this is a part of the settlement agreement that happened in 2016, which gave us the ShopRite, the field, and this is the second part of that agreement. So,
Good evening.
thank you
Mr.
for being
Mayor.
here to share this with our residents.
Thank you, and thank you to the members of the council. My name is Andy Noren. I'm an attorney at Faegre, Drinker, Biddle, and Reed in Florham Park, New Jersey. With me this evening is Steve Hittman, the owner and founder of Crossroads, and Anthony Volpe. He's a partner at Crossroads and is spearheading the development of this site. As you indicated, it's 810 River Road. It's the former ShopRite site. I want to take a few minutes to give a little bit of a background, what's led us here this evening, and tell you a little bit about what we're seeking procedurally from a legal perspective. And then Anthony is going to tell you a little bit more about Crossroads and show you some of the concept plans that they've prepared for the site and what their plans are for the site. As you indicated, Mr. Mayor, this site is the subject of an affordable housing settlement agreement that was executed in, I think, late 2016. That settlement provided for 135 units, 27 of which are affordable units. It's a 20% mandatory set-aside. Also allows for 12,500 square feet of retail, so it is a contemplated mixed-use development. Crossroads has been eager to develop this site for several years. They were engaged by the owner of the property, the Insera family, in late 2018 after the ShopRite was moved, or right around when the ShopRite was moved. That was obviously the focus of the Inseras to get the new ShopRite open, and once that happened, they shifted to try and redevelop the old ShopRite site. Crossroads made many attempts both to find a developer, another developer of the site, or to attract the equity that's necessary, the capital necessary to develop the site. They have been unable to do so despite numerous attempts over the course of, I think we're going on 6 years now. Crossroads is now the contract purchaser of the site and is eager to try again, essentially, and that's what we're here for this evening. So the bad news is that they have not been able to redevelop the site over many years. The good news is they have a very good idea of what it's going to take to redevelop the site, and what that is a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. And so what we're requesting is that the council designate this property as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment, which will make the property eligible for a pilot. I'm not sure how much you all know about pilots or how much experience the borough has with pilots. I've done a lot of them across the state, and I'm happy to talk details, but the gist of it is that instead of paying conventional taxes, the developer will pay, in lieu of taxes, a percentage of gross revenue generated from the project. So there's two key things to note about the pilot. The statute, the long-term tax exemption law that governs pilots in redevelopment areas, it sets up the structure of pilots to be a win-win situation for the municipality and the developer. So it's not just a free giveaway to the developer. Obviously, the developer is going to pay less. That's the whole purpose of that's the main purpose of the pilot, right, is to facilitate the development of a project that is otherwise not financeable by lowering the tax burden. But the municipality benefits greatly by taking a much greater share of the revenue. So it is a win-win situation that's set up by the statute. Second important piece is that when you're comparing, the project with the pilot, the appropriate comparison is not the project with the pilot and the project under conventional taxation, because there is going to be no project under conventional taxation. The history of this site has proven that. Okay, we've been at it for 6 years. It's not happening. So the appropriate comparison is what's there today, right? You have a blighted site, a vacant, obsolete, deteriorating site that's generating less revenue than what you're going to get from a redeveloped site with a pilot. And we think that there's numerous other benefits that you're going to get. Obviously, the primary benefit from this project to the community is going to be the alleviation of this area in need of redevelopment, which has a negative impact, we think, on the community, right? In its place, you're going to get a new high-quality luxury rental residential community. It's going to be a significant aesthetic improvement of the site, amongst other significant improvements from the redevelopment. You're also going to get a net fiscal benefit to the borough. Residential developments of this nature, they take in more money than they cost the town. We see that over and over again. And so it's going to be a net fiscal benefit to the town, to the borough. And in addition to that, these projects are an economic stimulus to communities, right? So the target renters for a project like this are usually going to have significant disposable incomes. They're going to be young professionals, they're going to be empty nesters, and they have money to spend, and they spend that in the surrounding community. So this is going to be a boon to local small businesses, restaurants, shops in the borough and in the surrounding area. People are going to spend money. It's going to help customer bases, and that's going to have a ripple effect, right? Because those businesses are going to have additional income. They're going to be able to invest more in their businesses and in their properties, and you have this economic stimulus that is more than just limited to this property. So we think a lot of benefits come from redevelopment of this property, and you're not going to get that unless the pilot happens. So that is the crux of what Crossroads believes is necessary to facilitate the redevelopment of the project. In addition to the redevelopment area designation and the pilot, there will be a redevelopment plan that will act as the new zoning ordinance for the site. As part of that redevelopment plan, Crossroads will be seeking an increase in the density from the 135 units currently. The plan that Anthony is going to show you this evening has 180 units on it. With the pilot in place, we understand there's some flexibility in the density, but we also know that the municipality, the borough, has a significant affordable housing obligation. There's a significant unmet need from the third round. There is going to be a fourth round that's coming next year, so it's not that far off in the future. There's going to be an additional obligation, presumably, that's coming the borough's way. And so, it certainly would make sense to us if the borough viewed this site as an opportunity to satisfy as much of that obligation as possible. We think that this site supports more density than is currently in the zoning ordinance, and so Crossroads is happy to help the borough try and satisfy its obligation by increasing the density on the site, if that's what the borough chooses when it goes through its affordable housing process.
How many affordable units are you including in that 180?
Well, that's still, I think, an open question, but we certainly would not be reducing it. It would be at least the number of units that are currently in the plan. So it would only increase from that if the density went up.
And would the plan provide additional repose or immunity to the borough?
Well, The borough, when the borough goes through its fourth round process and it prepares a new fair share plan for the fourth round, once that gets approved, and there's a new statute that was just adopted, so it's a kind of a whole new process that the borough will have to go through, and there's a new, it's called the program, Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program, that will approve the plan, the fair share plan. And once you have that, then you will have immunity. And our project obviously would be part of that plan and would help the borough have a plan that would obtain immunity.
So we would be throwing out the old agreement going back to 2016, is that what I'm hearing? Because the agreement was for 20% affordable housing.
Yeah.
So we should not, if we do 180 units, 20% the affordable housing?
Well, that's certainly, and I'll let Anthony discuss the details of that, and that's certainly a possibility. But yeah, the old zoning would go away. There would be a new redevelopment agreement. So, and what I've done is I've prepared an outline of the process. So the redevelopment process is sort of a 5-step process. The first thing is designating the property as an area in need of redevelopment. Then you have a redevelopment plan that gets adopted, so that would supersede the existing zoning and would create new zoning. We think the zoning would largely be the same, but there would be some tweaks, including the density that we're seeking. And then there's a redeveloper designation and a redevelopment agreement that would be entered into between the borough and the redeveloper. So any prior settlement agreement would be superseded by the new redevelopment plan and the redevelopment agreement. And then there would be a financial agreement for the payment in lieu of taxes. And then the 5th step is your traditional site plan approval process, which comes after the redevelopment plan is adopted. So in a redevelopment area, you have to go through site plan approval process before the planning board, just as you would with conventional zoning. So that whole process is a detailed process, obviously, and I'm happy to share. I prepared this outline, which sort of lays out timelines that we think are realistic to accomplish this. And the first milestone that we would need and that we would like to see happen is at your next meeting to adopt a resolution directing the planning board to investigate whether the property qualifies as an area in need of redevelopment. That's the very first step, and we would obviously like to see that happen as soon as possible. Crossroads has been at this, like I said, for 6 years, and we're obviously eager to get this done. Typically, in my experience, the redevelopment process is a 12 to 18 month process, so that's what this outlines. And I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you want Anthony to, tell you a little bit more about it, and then you can ask questions to both of us, whoever's appropriate to answer, whatever the council would like.
Sure.
You got it?
I think we should go there and make it, because the light go the other way. And they do it the opposite way.
Okay. I think we do.
That the best place for that?
Okay. And we go over there.
Okay.
I have handouts as well.
But if you put that board here,
Yeah.
we'll stand there, this way the people live streaming can see it.
Oh, okay.
Going down? Okay.
Thank you.
That's a better idea.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Volpe. I'm a partner with Crossroads Companies. Just a little bit about us to start. Crossroads is a regional development firm. We're local. We're based in Mahwah, New Jersey. We develop all over northern New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. That's our core market. Our executive team has over 90 years of combined experience developing real estate throughout the region. In that time, we've developed over 1 million square feet of commercial space as well as 1,500 luxury apartments throughout the area. Very similar to what we're going to be discussing tonight. So we have in the handout here is a conceptual plan package which outlines our vision for the proposed redevelopment of the former ShopRite located on River Road in New Milford. So with that, I can see everyone's eager to talk about the plan, so I'm going to get right into that.
This is River Road on the left, right?
Yes, this is River Road right here. Over here. And so this slide is also the second slide in your handout package. So you have River Road in the front right here. So starting at the south of the site, the small building is a one-story commercial pad with 2,300 square feet of retail space. The idea there is that...
That little building on the south?
Correct. Apologies, I meant the bottom of the picture.
Wouldn't that be north?
So that is, so that's a commercial pad site that we would look to attract a retailer, a national retailer such as a Starbucks or a Panera. They would have a drive-through location there, and that's what
that's where the health center is right now.
Correct. So moving to now the south of the site, we have a 4-story building. The first level in blue is about a little over 10,000 square feet of commercial space. And then you have 3 levels of residential above that, which would total 24 apartments. That's the height. The height is 4 stories. That building is, should be around 50 feet. Yeah, we tried to stick with as close to the current zoning as we can. So then moving to the back of the property where the main building is, we have 4 stories of residential over 1 level of parking, which is at the cellar level, which actually, as you can tell from the slide here, you can't really see it from the front. We have another picture for you in the back which you can see. That building houses 156 luxury apartments, a little over 8,000 square feet of interior amenity space, and 164 garage parking spaces. So you can see up here in the top corner of the slide, the total proposed development would be 180 apartments, 12,500 square feet of commercial space, total parking of 324 spaces, which is 164 in the garage and 160 on the surface. That would meet the RSIS requirement with a shared parking provision between the commercial and the residential. And to answer a couple of the questions that came up when Andy was speaking about the affordable housing component, the answer is yes. If we're able to obtain a pilot for the project that will make it feasible, we could continue to honor the 20% that was previously approved. So if 180 units was approved, that would result in 36 affordable units instead of the 27 that's in the current plan.
When you talk about the parking, are you including the parking for that restaurant?
Yes.
Is that part of the 324, the residents can park there?
It's all included in the total. So if you go to the third slide in your packet, you can see the same 3D massing from the back. We wanted to give you an opportunity to see it from both sides. So you can see there that that cellar parking level is actually built into the existing grade, which exists there today. So it does appear from the back to be 5 stories, but it's 4 stories in the front. And that meets the code, the building code, to comply with the current zoning of 4 stories, 50 feet. Moving to the next slide in your package.
There's no commercial space in the larger building?
There's not. So moving to the next slide, these are now 2D aerial views of the property, which give you a little additional context. In this level, this is just showing the cellar level of the property. So what you see basically here is the parking garage, which is 164 parking spaces.
Is there assigned parking?
I'm sorry?
Is there going to be assigned?
There would be assigned parking for our residents, yes.
And how many parking spots would each want?
It would be, everyone would get one automatically, and then the excess parking would be first come, first served. So moving to the next slide, this slide right here, this is our ground floor plan. So you can see at the top of the page, the blue is commercial space. The yellow at the main building is apartments, which we have an interior courtyard amenity space for the residents. And then the pink is the lobby entrance, which would be like a hotel-style lobby entrance, as well as a little over 5,000 square feet of amenity space connected to that, which opens up to the courtyard. Moving to the next slide. This one is called typical upper floor plan. This is just shows you what the property looks like from the second level and above. And it's mainly residential units in the small building as well as in the main building. Amenity space is all sorts of things. It's a resident lounge where people can come and hang out. There's TVs, there's couches, pool tables, game tables. There would be a fitness center, correct?
Are you putting a pool?
There would not be, there's not currently a pool complex. Yes, there'd be a fitness center, there would be work from home space, conference room, there would be probably a small child's room.
But no retail.
The retail would all be at the, currently contemplated, the retail is the blue area.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
So it's not an open area, it's enclosed. It's not like an atrium or open space,
Which space?
part in the middle of the big
The
building.
courtyard is enclosed, it's in the residential building, which is very typical. And the courtyard would include,
So this is a green space, or is there a roof on top of it?
so we would also propose a rooftop amenity on the top level of the building.
Rooftop amenity, what is that?
It'd be like a rooftop deck, that's got, again, sort of landscape, hardscape.
So that would be open, but that would be on the rooftop, but below the rooftop, this part is closed.
That courtyard sits right above the parking garage. So it's essentially
I'm trying
on,
to find out. if
There's
it's-
no roof on that
So it's
courtyard.
open
It's
air.
open, yeah.
Yes,
It's
yes.
open air, there might be like lounge chairs, grills, that sort of
Oh, you're
thing.
talking about clubhouse and sofas and chairs. So
Yes. That's on the interior portion.
So where are the interior amenities? Okay. So this and this is the interior.
No, so what it was,
What page is that? Oh, that.
So this is what we refer to as the ground floor plan. So this is the lobby right here. This connects to the amenity space. This is the
Oh, this is
interior.
enclosed, this is exterior. Yes, thank you.
And I think it's important to note, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is all very conceptual, right?
Yes.
We haven't even done any architecture. We will develop this plan. There's still, I think, a lot of flexibility when it comes to design and architecture and things like that. And through the redevelopment plan, once the redevelopment designation happens and then the redevelopment plan process starts, that's when we'll start to, define the architecture and the layout a little bit more. And then when you get to the site plan process, then you get into a lot, even more detail. So it's sort of an iterative process that, you get more and more detail as we go along. The key right now is to get the designation and then to just get the broad brushes of, the pilot and the density.
This is to give you an idea.
Okay, maybe I'm naive about this, but then what is the definition of luxury? You're saying it's a luxury apartment.
So it's a good question. So the last 3 slides of the package have some theme imagery of similar buildings that this would look like. So the first slide of the 3, when you get there, is exterior architecture. So we purposely don't design architecture at this stage for a number of reasons. One of which is we want the borough to tell us what kind of architecture they would like. There's lots of different options. We've given you a few different examples. Some are more modern in nature, some are more traditional, and we're open to your input so that when we do develop the architecture, it's something that the borough is excited about and the community is excited about. The next slide, after the exterior architecture, are pictures of interiors. So this gives you an idea of what some of our amenity spaces and apartment finishes would look like. Again, this is a luxury apartment community at the upper end of what you would see in northern New Jersey towns similar to it. And the last slide shows you some examples of exterior amenities, such as the courtyard we were just talking about. So really nice landscaped areas, hardscape areas, barbecues, fire pits, that kind of stuff.
So where would these landscape areas be? Is this what's inside?
So the landscaped areas would be inside this courtyard, and then as well as on the rooftop amenity that we would look to get approval for.
And so are you showing any kind of landscaping on the outside?
There will, and this is just a very conceptual plan. Yeah, if you go to one of the aerial slides, the first one, the ground floor, which is right here. You see a little bit of the green space, but that's going to be developed further. This is not a final landscaping plan.
This is conceptual.
Yes.
One of the things that I see right away is maybe perhaps flipping the small commercial pad with the other smaller building, because it's next to Woodcrest Center or Care One, which is already tall, so you get that gradual height up, rather than burying the restaurant, which is in between two large buildings.
Yep, that's absolutely something.
Better visibility on the other corner.
Yep.
The other thing is, will there be generators?
Generators. It's a little premature to answer that question. We don't typically put generators in our buildings. It's not usually necessary. Sometimes there is a need for one, so I would have to get back to you on that.
Considering it, what about a traffic light where Dillard, police, Dillard, I'm sorry, yes, East River Road, because it's considerably more traffic.
Okay, we could certainly look into that. We have not.
Yeah, and just to add, when it comes to traffic, so there'll be a traffic study done, and there has to be a traffic warrant for a light, so it's not something that we can just do because we want to do. You have to have a study that meets the traffic warrant, and you have to get approval for that light. So if you need it, you'll get the light, and that'll be something that we'll have to deal with, and if not, then there won't be a light because it won't meet the warrant.
I'm just curious if any research or study on an anticipated number, and I know you're no one here is clairvoyant, but an anticipated number of new students in our school system resulting from this plan?
We would put together a study for you, but it's very, in these types of luxury buildings, we have a high mix of one-bedroom units. A lot of our two-bedrooms are on the smaller side. They do not generate a significant amount of school children.
So there'll be no 3 bedrooms?
The only 3 bedrooms that would be contemplated here, unless the borough wants them, is the affordable 3 bedrooms.
Yes.
And it's a requirement.
Correct. Right. And yeah, so there are some statewide studies of how many school children typically are generated by these units, and that's generally what is relied on to determine, to estimate the number of students. And yeah, as Anthony said, really the units in a building like this that generate school children are the affordables, right? You usually have the 1 and 2 bedrooms where you have young professionals and empty nesters. They're not generating, they're very, very few school children. The affordables, where you have the 2 and 3 bedroom units, that's where you get some school children, and that's part of your affordable housing obligation. There's nothing that can be done. That's mandatory.
I'd like to just make one comment. It's me. I'm not representing the council on this, but you said that you have some photos in here that gives us the idea of some towns further up, south, closer to New York.
These are buildings.
As far as apartments. My whole thing is, New Milford is not a Richfield Park or whatever the other towns are along New York. And
These are not New York City borough buildings. These are in towns like.
no, I know,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Park Ridge.
Ridgewood, Park Ridge, South Warren, all sorts of
But
similar
again,
Bergen County.
Crossroads is very open to having your input as to what type of architecture you guys think is appropriate for New Milford.
Yeah.
And through the redevelopment plan process, we'll take in that input and make sure that the architecture is consistent with.
I'm just saying that it looks hardscape, I mean, it looks very angular as opposed to,
So you might be interested in a more village type.
I'm just saying me.
Understood. Yeah, architecture is always challenging. Everyone likes different aesthetics, but we can.
Let's get a little more into this is a small town,
Right.
small community.
Understood.
Just saying. I mean, I've been to the towns in Connecticut that they have,
So generally, they're integrated in. There may be more affordables in the smaller building. So the smaller building may have mostly all affordables, and then the rest would be, distributed evenly through the larger building. But all of the affordable units would have the same finishes, same access to amenities, and everything.
It just so happens that in this design, we have a satellite building, which lends itself more to the affordable units. There would be a lot in that building, but there would be some in the main building as well. But if the design ultimately changes a little bit, that may change as well.
Why do you have a satellite building? Why isn't one building?
Because of the commercial space, having it as close to River Road as possible is advantageous for that. And rather than cover more of the site from a lot coverage perspective, with more residential, we decided it would be better to build above that level of commercial. But again, something we can look at.
so maybe this is premature to ask about, I see that it's asphalt or parking lot, right?
Yes.
And you don't have a landscape design.
So part of the challenge is we were trying to stay as close to the current zoning as possible in terms of lot coverage, and also at the same time meet the parking requirement. So in order to do that, we had to cover a lot of the site with surface parking. If the borough was open to a higher lot coverage, then we could look at less surface parking and more structured parking. That would be an option. It's always kind of a balancing act. One of the things we like about this is sort of the marrying between the commercial and the residential and the roundabout. It makes for sort of a nice, it's on the smaller side, but a nice mixed-use community that could be active. Residents can walk to the commercial uses and vice versa. And it kind of creates a little community within it.
What would the entrances and exits be to this property? I see one over here on the road.
It would be,
Is there another one?
yeah, this would be a drive-in pulling out.
Right, is there another area, place to pull in or not? Is that the only entrance and exit?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Those are the existing driveways.
That's the only way to cover.
There is a connection, we are showing a connection on Millworth here as well, yeah. So you've got River and Millworth.
So the bottom of this smaller houses will also be.
Correct, this blue area right here. That's about 10,000, a little over 10,000 square feet, combined with the 2,300 is the total of 12,500.
And the total blue one, you want to make the restaurant.
It's not necessarily a restaurant. Well, the idea behind a pad site was to attract someone like a Starbucks or a Panera. But if there's no one who's interested in that pad site, we would probably consolidate it into the bigger building and get rid of it. There's value.
With Englewood Health.
Englewood Health, we have a relocation clause in our lease, so assuming they would like to stay with you, if they will, we would relocate them into the bigger building, which is one of the reasons right now why we have it there, but we can figure out another plan for that. Whether it's reduction in height, shifting the buildings around, there's a few different ways we can tackle that.
So again, very, very early on as far as design goes, and, welcome the input from the council and the planning board as well as we go through the redevelopment plan process. But you'll see from the timeline, again, the first steps are the redevelopment area designation to get it going, and the governing body, directing the planning board to undertake the study, and then the planning board would then hold a hearing. Once they have a planner that prepares an area in need of redevelopment study, and then they would make a recommendation to the governing body, and then the council would vote on designating it. And then towards the end of that process, usually we would start working with the borough's planner to start formulating the redevelopment plan and start getting into the, more the nitty-gritty of the design.
And the nice thing about the redevelopment process is the redevelopment plan really sets the design. So we would get into all the details at that stage, layouts, coverages, height, architecture, and then at that point, we're pretty much, we're ready to go to site plan and we're conforming. There'll be a little bit more detail, obviously, at the site plan hearing, but you're kind of getting ahead of the process that way.
What's the estimated construction time?
This would be pretty close to a 2-year build, somewhere between 20 to 24 months.
2 years after the 18th, 12 to 18?
Correct.
Yeah, that timeline is basically to get to building permit. And then,
So this is 2028.
Yes. We'll go as fast as you want us to. And for what it's worth, I know we don't have to get into the financials tonight, but at 180 units, rough just as a pilot estimate for what that would generate in terms of payment in lieu of taxes would probably be somewhere north of $500,000 to the borough. 95% of which the borough would capture and 5% would give to the county.
correct. So that should be a significant increase from what the property is
I
currently.
haven't looked up the property taxes recently, but last time I looked, I think they were around 200,000 annually, something along those lines.
Which gets split, so you're getting much less than that. So it'd be a significant increase in revenue to the borough.
Full on-site management, 24/7. This will be a very high-end building. Think of it somewhat like a boutique hotel. That's the kind of vibe that we have here.
So garbage dishes and stuff like that?
All inside the building. Garbage would be in
Private pickup?
the garage, yeah.
In your experience, how long did it take before the building after it's finished?
It's a good question. So we start leasing it before it's finished, we pre-lease, usually by the floor. And we usually shoot for somewhere between 15 to 20 leases per month. So if we were at 180 total units, we would be leased in approximately 9 to 12 months.
May I ask where the rent will be?
Where the rental rates? Yeah, it's been a little while, but I think that one-bedrooms would probably range from, on the lower end, 21, 2,200 up to 26, 27. Two-bedrooms would be high 2s, well into the 3s. We may even hit some 4s if it's a pretty high rent.
And there will be no balcony?
We don't do a lot of balconies. Surprisingly, they don't get used a lot by the residents, and they don't look great, frankly. The rooftop is exactly what we do in lieu of the balconies. Exactly. People love the courtyards and the rooftops, and we try to make the courtyard a little bit more passive in nature, a little bit more relaxing. The rooftop a little bit more fun. The rooftop does close at a reasonable hours to avoid that noise. But yeah, those are really the outdoor amenities that people look for. There'll be a dog run somewhere, there'll be probably a dog wash area inside the building, very tight.
Laundry facilities, I think?
Every unit has their own washer dryer. Sometimes if we have room, we'll do a room for oversized laundries. We have extra room.
And just to add on the rents, obviously Anthony's throwing out sort of a guesstimate right now. As part of the pilot process and the negotiation of the financial agreement and the pilot application, we'll do a more detailed estimate of the rents and the revenue that would be generated so that you have a better sense of the revenue that's going to come in once the building is completed and the pilot is in effect.
How sure are you that these units will actually rent? Is that new development in Freetown, like in Milford, that I just seems to be relatively vacant after 7 years?
We're very short. Yeah. I do hear anecdotally from time to time people say, oh, that building is having trouble leasing up. Typically, there's usually a story associated with that. We keep tabs on all of the buildings that get built every year throughout northern New Jersey, and I can tell you they're all well above 90, usually closer to 95% leased. Sometimes it takes a little time. If you deliver a 300-unit building, that can take a year and a half sometimes to lease up. And, you know, sometimes you're delivering a building in the bad months in the winter, it's a little tougher to lease during those. But there's so much pent-up demand in these towns.
That's slow and it's been there a while. What about, how would this compare with the Nest?
The Nest, well, I think we're going to have a way bigger amenity package for one. You know, our interior units will probably be a little bit higher end as well. I think the Nest was a pretty nice looking building from what I saw. But, you know, we have a lot more units here, a lot more opportunity, I think, for upgrades. Also, design is always evolving every 3 to 5 years, so the Nest is probably 5 years old at this point. Yeah, so, you know, we're going to have the newer kitchens, the newer
What specific type of retail you're looking to put in?
We want lifestyle retail ideally to serve the residents, but for example, obviously, the medical group will stay, and so could be a mix of both. There's not a tremendous amount, there's only 12,500 today, so we would love to bring in, like I said, a Starbucks or a Panera, because it's an amenity for the residents and the town, but it's all based on demand, who wants to come. But we won't have any problem getting some lifestyle services in there. I am, so can't bring them in. Starbucks likes to be close to them. You tried to get a Chick-fil-A, but it didn't work.
All right, I know there's a lot to digest, and there's a lot to talk about. Is there any questions?
Well, we'll just
Obviously.
I'm gonna wait by the phone. No, any questions, I'm happy to address, Randy's happy to address, owner of our company's here tonight, but I know this is a lot to digest, so take your time, and we're eager to come back as soon as you'll have us.
Let's go back.
Thank you.
It's a little messy. Yeah, it's okay. And I can email you the packet as well.
Yeah, actually, email it first.
We're gonna keep it board for a while. And Mayor, in terms of architecture, those are examples. You're gonna get more examples, we can also look at your.
Thank you. Thank
Maybe a little research. Maybe we'll see if we can come up with another extra one.
Okay, did I get one?
No. So we'll put this as a topic on our next agenda. Doesn't mean we will or will not take action, but it'll be up for discussion.
Thanks.
Is there any other business before this council? So we're at the end of the meeting. Yeah.
I could give my written help.
No, we're gonna wait. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out and being a part of this. And yes, Memorial Day Parade. It's always a good show.
9 o'clock.